I'm in the process of negotiating. I'm pre-LOI, but I've been working with a vendor that hasn't gone to market. So it's been bouncing around with contacts to contacts, and he's going to come back to me with a change of pricing. And that's where your points were quite interesting, because he thinks obviously it's worth the 5, 6, and so on. And he's been growing at 40% this year, which scares me. It's turning into an e-commerce business. It's a distribution business. And I've tried to peg him at a 25 to 30% vendor note, and I'm worried that's going to come back. So I was picking some of the information of how do I mitigate that moving forward, because he's just looking for the biggest cash payout, and doesn't want to go to market. So I'm holding that on him, but I don't know how long I can go with that one.
One of my better recommendations sometimes in those situations, and I just told a client this last week, walk away for a week. Radio silent. Broker's gonna call, or the seller's gonna call you. They're gonna email you. They're gonna, man, I want to make sure you were okay. Just call me back and let me know you're okay.
I gave him a radio silence for 3 weeks to a month, and he was supposed to send me some information. I got nothing. So I sent him a message. Are you still interested in closing? And if so, would it be unreasonable to set a timeline? And that got him spinning. And he's been extremely reactive ever since. And that was 3 weeks ago. So if he goes 3-4 days without touching base, he'll send me an email. I'm still waiting for information for this, that. I'm sorry, I haven't got back to you for that. I can schedule very last minute calls, and he bends over backwards. But I don't want to push too hard. I'm just waiting and where that's going, and we'll see. So thanks for the advice. It's a good one.
Say it again.
Thanks for the advice. That's a good one. But it's just that. But I found that, are you still interested? And that's a Chris Voss technique. Are you still interested? And is it unreasonable to expect a timeline? Worked incredibly well.
I knew I'd heard those words before. I have like 20 of his white papers on my computer. He's wicked. The other one I like is Deepak Malhotra. He was one of my professors at Harvard Business School, but don't hold it against him. He's a pretty cool dude. And his book, Negotiation Genius, is pretty solid. The other thing I've done, Phil, in transactions, so you've already used the radio silence, so it's still keeping pressure up. Your process may outlast the utility of it. I have like 4 or 5 different pictures of Brinks trucks on my computer. And when I feel that somebody is sort of belaboring something, taking too long, messing with me in a negotiation, I send them a Brinks truck and say something to the effect of, hey, my Brinks truck was headed to Los Angeles to buy your business. Let me know if I should divert it to Phoenix or San Antonio, where I'm looking at other companies. Some sort of iteration of, hey, my Brinks truck is heading your direction for the foreseeable future, but I need to consummate a transaction. I can't wait forever. And so at a certain point, I'm pointing my Brinks truck somewhere else. And that's been a great way to get people back. A, realizing you're the money bag that's going to create their retirement, and B, pushing somebody off of indifference.
Yeah. How, now that I have you, and I think probably a few other people might have this question, is how do you convince that vendor note that it's worth it?
That's more of a negotiation of whether they like your deal or not than I think negotiating that the note is worth it. Does that make sense? Like,
yep.
I think they either like your deal and think it's solid and think that the concept of you paying them when they're going to be at a place of lower leverage is a function of how well you've done the 2-day visit work, the be who you say you're going to be work. Somebody else mentioned transparency earlier. So LOI transparency, I don't value all that much. But as you continue to sort of interact with someone, I do think transparency and honorability do play. I've never seen somebody negotiate themselves out of a seller situation who didn't trust their seller note. I've seen somebody convince a seller to take a deal that was wild because they liked the person. So I'd say sell the deal and stay away from the seller note. Like, not stay away from it, meaning don't use it, but sort of the reason you get this amazing deal from Phil is because it has a seller note in it, and you can get a deal from another guy that won't be as good as my deal and may have a lesser seller note, but that guy's going to be a jerk, or that dude hasn't spent the same time in the numbers, or this person's not going to take the time to understand your business. Whatever it is, I say advocate for your deal.